Let's talk about the stories and mythology behind League of Legends champions. For me, part of the reason I play that game is the lore. The mythology of League of Legends is vast and deep, and there are some very good stories in there if you know where to look. Today I want to tell you the story of Atrus, or as he is commonly known today, Pantheon the Unbreakable Spear.
The heavens do not fear me because I am a god. They fear me because I am a man.
The inspiration for Pantheon is from the Spartan warriors, as I'm sure it is evident in the way of his clothing and weaponry. More specifically, I believe it derives from King Leonidas, who led an army of 300 against over 300,000 Persian soldiers. The attitude of never giving up even in the face of certain doom. The story of Pantheon is one of the most interesting lore in League of Legends. The story goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a boy living in the harsh and hostile slopes of Targon. At first, much like any teenager, he took up farming, but he always knew he was destined for battle. Atrus was not very big and strong, nor was he skilled in the art of battle. But that did not stop him from trying to join the Rackers' militant order, the Ra Horak. At first glance, there was nothing outstanding about him, but no matter how badly beaten or bloodied, he would always stand up. It was his unbreakable power of will that separated him from the rest of the soldiers. In his time as a recruit, Atrus formed a fierce rivalry with another recruit, named Pylus. Pylus was impressed by the young man's ability to stand up no matter how many times he was beaten, and so through the blood they shed in the training circle, a brotherhood was formed. A Racker patrol encountered a barbarian ambush one night, and among that patrol was Atrus and Pylus. The two were the few surviving members of the patrol. The rest of their brothers, dead. They begged the aspect of the sun to help them, to drive the barbarians away. But the aspect refused, and left them to suffer. On that day, Atrus and Pylus made a vow to climb Mount Targon and claim the power of the aspects, the so-called gods, for themselves. But they underestimated the climb, much like many before them. Upon reaching the summit, Pylus, broken by the climb, drew his last breath in Atrus's arms, and so on top of the mountain stood a man. Alone, broken, but yet standing. The summit opened to him, he had done the climb after all. And there he stood face to face with the aspect of war, Pantheon. The aspect looked at the man in front of him and saw nothing but a weak mortal. This man had known nothing but defeat all his life. Unskilled, broken, not worthy. And so Pantheon, the aspect of war, judged him unworthy and took over Atrus's body instead, casting Atrus's consciousness to the deepest corners of his mind. Condemned only to watch as the aspect, with his divine spear and shield, went on the hunt to destroy the Darkin. Living weapons created in a bygone age. Not gods, not demons, but worse. Eventually, Pantheon was goaded into battle close to Mount Targon by the Darkin known as Aatrox. Their battle shook the ground apart, and the very clash of the divine spear with Aatrox's god-killing blade tore the skies. But then, as the men below watched, the god-killing blade struck a final blow through Pantheon's chest, carving the constellation of war from the heavens. The aspect slowly faded to nothingness, but the man, the weak man, the mortal, whom had known nothing but defeat all his life, did not. Impaled on Aatrox's blade, the mortal spit on the Darkin's face. Amused by this little mortal, Aatrox sneered and left Atrus to die on the ground. Hours passed. Slowly the wounded mortal stood up and with eyes full of anger and a trail of blood walked towards the village. A lifetime of defeat, but on that day he refused to be defeated. Atrus was nursed back to health by Pylas's widow, Lula. In that time, he realized that he had made the mistake to look at the stars all his life, never once considering what lays beneath them. Mortals. Unlike gods, they fought because they had to. Because they faced death every day. The resilience he found in man rivaled that of steel. Months had passed, and the barbarian threat in the north still remained, threatening the village including Lula's farm. Finally, Atrus picked up the dulled shield and spear of the aspect. Vengeance burning in his eyes, he was determined to end this scourge himself. But upon arriving, he saw that the barbarians he sought to destroy were already being slaughtered. And so understanding dawned on him. It was Aatrox. Even that time months ago it was the Darkin that had drove the barbarians to attack their village. They were no different than the Racker villagers. Mortals who suffered by the hands of greater powers in the universe. Cold rage rose in his heart at Darkin and the aspects, for that he saw no difference between the two anymore. They were the problem. And so, Atrus put himself between the barbarians and the Darkin, Aatrox. Aatrox recognized the nearly destroyed shield and spear of the fallen aspect, and so he mocked the mortal. What chance did he have? For even the aspect of war himself was defeated by Aatrox, the Godslayer. But Atrus did not move. There stood one man against a dark god. And though the blows of the Darkin cast Atrus to his knees, he stood up once more. And the impossible happened, upon hearing the cries of people around him, and by the power of his unbreakable will, the weapons of the fallen aspect reignited once more in his hands. With a mighty leap and cry of anger he struck a blow that severed the Darkin's sword arm. The arm and the Darkin both fell to the ground. Shock and fear had replaced amusement in the eyes of the Darkin. Once again, on that field, stood a man. And only a man. That day, Atrus vowed to stand against aspects, ascended, demons, and any who wield a power so great that can only destroy. Forsaking his own name, once again he became Pantheon. The new Pantheon. The aspect's weapons fueled by the will to fight and to survive. A will that can only be found in the face of death. Thank you for watching. That was the origin story of Pantheon. Please like and subscribe, and tell me which champion story or mythology you want next in the comments down below.